And I don't know, I just feel like the gut conversation is never on point. I'm going to totally go off here and I definitely shouldn't do this because, like, I didn't actually finish listening to the full podcast. So I probably shouldn't even say this.
And this dude was at the back, and I said to him, there's no such thing as a food intolerance. This geezer, he was in the back going, like, he just looked like his head was shaking so fast. It was like he was trying to run. It was like he was running, like he was watching a cricket match.
A cricket match?
Oh no, a tennis
That
match.
is not
Tennis match. Sorry.
But it just frustrates me because I agree with you. I'm not someone that recommends food intolerance tests, and most people hearing that episode, and that person has a lot of followers, people are going to take that then as, oh, you know what? All of this inflammation, sensitivity, histamine stuff is a load of crap, and you can only have a food allergy where you'd have anaphylactic shock, or else there's nothing wrong with you. Because that's the other model of, you know, people saying that this is all a load of crap.
This is called leaky gut.
How to know if you have a leaky gut.
How to know if you have
Which
a
was
leaky.
your suggestion, by the way, so I have no idea what we're talking about.
Did I suggest this?
Yeah.
I think it was. You know what it was? It came off the back of, you know, when we did the histamine video, the ChatGPT one. Right. So when we did the ChatGPT, which we'll tag in the description, someone commented about the leaky gut bit because they're like, oh my god, like I did not realize this was a leaky gut. And I said, you know what, we should do a video about leaky gut, because, like, you know, all the videos that are on socials and stuff, like not social but on YouTube and everything about leaky gut, or on like whatever, half the videos, like, I don't think people actually understand what a leaky gut actually is. It feels like they've just kind of like watched someone else explain it, taken their script and then made the script about leaky gut.
And I don't always agree with our approach to leaky gut. Do you ever sometimes feel like we like focus too much on the gut, and then also we just don't focus enough about the gut? Like, I feel like we focus about it in the wrong way of like, oh, you probably have leaky gut and we need to have all of these pre and probiotics and like do this, you know, gut routine. But and then on the other hand, there's like, you know, people talking about allergies and food intolerance tests and how it's all lies and things. And I don't know, I just feel like the gut conversation is never on point. I'm going to totally go off here and I definitely shouldn't do this because, like, I didn't actually finish listening to the full podcast. So I probably shouldn't even say this, but I was listening to a podcast recently, which I think was it with like an immunologist or an allergist or something like that. And they were talking about food allergies and why we're seeing such an increase in food allergies in like kids in particular. You know, like everyone seems to be allergic to like peanuts or milk, or, you know, and there's all of this fear about like introducing foods to kids and babies and things like that. And like, to be fair, she actually made some brilliant points and I was like, oh, this is really good, that's really interesting. And then she just like made this sweeping statement about, oh, and food intolerances and food sensitivities, that's just total bullshit, there's only allergies. And which isn't wrong, but it was just that sweeping statement. And then the host kind of immediately was like, oh, that's so interesting because I did this food intolerance test and it told me that I was intolerant to all of these things and I removed them all, but like I didn't feel any better. And like they went on with the conversation, but it just kind of, I think I just got frustrated because they're not wrong, but there wasn't enough context given, because I feel like a lot of people listening to that are going to go away and kind of think, oh yeah, there only are allergies. So or anyone talking about food intolerances and food sensitivities are talking a load of crap, and food intolerance tests are a load of crap. And it really bothered me because, I mean, to be fair, I'm not massively pro food intolerance tests either. I think that it's a good way of spending a lot of money to tell you that
I've got a
you
story for this.
no, but I think that a food intolerance test essentially is a way of spending a lot of money to tell you that you have inflammation and most likely a leaky gut.
There.
It's not telling you anything to do with, like, I think calling it food sensitivity or food intolerance is completely wrong. And the approach of eliminating like a million different foods is not actually the root issue.
So I lectured at a conference. Got asked to do a speaking just to speak about the company and whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I got talking about histamine. They said just give us a snapshot about histamine, and one of the big food testing companies was there,
Yeah.
and their CEO, MD, or whatever you want to call him, was there, right? And this dude was at the back, and I said to him, there's no such thing as a food intolerance, and like, I'm a big advocate of that,
No
and
such thing as histamine intolerance.
and no such thing as histamine, no such thing as food intolerance. And I said to
right,
him, I goes like, you used to have this food before, but suddenly became intolerant, and it's because the gut's adapting. This geezer, T, he was in the back going, like, he just looked like his head was shaking so fast. It was like he was trying to run. It was like he was running, like he was watching a cricket match, and he was just like huffing and puffing and crossing his arms.
A cricket match.
No, a tennis
That
match.
is not
Tennis match. Sorry.
I was like, I have been to a cricket match. And that is not a fast moving.
Sorry,
sport.
a tennis match. He was like, his head's like bobbing left, right, centre because he's nodding so quickly, right? Huffing and puffing. And I remember, and then we went back upstairs, and you went to the event, right? Because I remember I talked to you about it,
Okay.
and then one of the practitioners came up to me, and she was like, Dilly, he's not happy about you, right? And I said to her, I was like, oh, let me go speak to him. You know what he did? He made a big line out the room and ignored me. So now I've got my space to talk freely, so I will. Basically, when it comes to a leaky gut, right, people would do a food intolerance test because that's what has been taught in the past.
Yeah.
And what a food intolerance test does is it basically gives you a snapshot, as T says, you said to me, it gives you a snapshot of what the gut is reacting to right now. But the problem is your body, your immune system will produce antibodies to what it thinks is bad. And so a food intolerance test, what you're reacting to right now may not be what you react in 3 months. And I can prove this.
Or tomorrow.
Or tomorrow. I can prove
Yeah.
this. Because people will say, I have histamine intolerance, and this is the funniest thing the community will say, right? And I was like, I did a food intolerance test, and I was eating this food, and then literally 3 months later, I couldn't eat again, and now I've limited my diet even more. That is proof that a food intolerance test does not work, because it will give you a snapshot of what's happening now. But if you eat just carrots constantly because it was on your safe list of foods, or you just had bananas, your immune system, if you've got a leaky gut, your immune system will look at that food, and all of a sudden it will, because the immune system's reactive, it will start producing antibodies because it thinks it's bad. So is that my point proven? Yeah, it's my point proven,
But
right?
this is the thing, like, when all it's telling you is that your gut is inflamed, your immune system is reacting, it's more reactive, it's sensitive, hypersensitive. Most likely there's some leakiness, or also you can call a leaky gut increased intestinal permeability going on. That's all it's telling you. And that's not a bad thing. I used to tell people in clinic, I'm like, listen, if you have the money, you can splash it at a test and, be told that overnight, or we can go about this the old school way through diagnostics and kind of symptomology and things like that, which is legit in certain cases with an experienced practitioner. Like, again, we just have this mindset of like everything needs to be this expensive test. But it just frustrates me because I agree with you. I'm not someone that recommends food intolerance tests, and most people hearing that episode, and that person has a lot of followers, we like, it's just so frustrating because people are going to take that then as, oh, you know what, all of this inflammation, sensitivity, histamine stuff is a load of crap, and you can only have a food allergy where you'd have anaphylactic shock, or else there's nothing wrong with you, because that's the other model of, people saying that this is all a load of crap is, well, unless you're having, an anaphylactic reaction, where you need like an EpiPen, there's probably nothing wrong with you. You probably just ate too much and, you're just feeling bloated and unwell for nothing. And that's completely incorrect as well. And it just,
Well, okay.
I just find it frustrating.
Let's talk about leaky gut then, right? So
Yeah.
a leaky gut, right, it's the wrong word.
It's an inflamed
It's an
gut.
inflamed gut. So leaky gut is not
It's a gut that just needs a little bit of love. It just needs
True.
a bit of nurturing.
So I did this. I did this on the videos, but if you're watching this now, I'll explain leaky gut to
Yeah.
you because it's part of this video, right? So you have your intestinal lining. So like they call it the tight junctions, the junctions, right?
Which is like your intestinal lining is essentially porous. So think of like an eggshell, because things have to move in and out between your
Yeah.
intestines into the rest of your system.
Correct. So what will happen is in between this you have zonulin, and zonulin's what they normally do is a marker. That's a marker of a leaky gut. It's what they do for an intestine permeability test, right? And what will happen is zonulin naturally sits in between the villi, and what it does is it pulls nutrients in and it keeps toxins out. So toxins can go into the stool, into the colon, to be passed out via stool. And what will happen is that's that villi sitting there, right? And as you're exposing your bodies to medications, crappy foods, drinks, stress, drugs, anything toxic food, like as you're exposing it, what will happen is
Stress.
your immune system is being triggered. And like the people who are constantly ill, constantly because they've got a high level immune system. And what will happen? The body goes, I need to protect you, because it starts to think things are bad. And what will happen is you have mast cells, and these mast cells line the entire gut wall. You've got mast cells all around the body. And what will happen is your immune system releases antibodies, and those antibodies sit on top of the mast cells, like little antennas, I call them. And what they do is when an allergen comes into contact with that IgE, that antibody, it triggers the mast cells to release histamine. And I'm not explaining it to Tracy, but I'm explaining it to people watching, right? So
It's a lovely explanation.
T's heard this before. And as what happens, that mast cell releases that histamine, and that histamine creates inflammation. And what inflammation is a barrier. It's stopping the body from allowing, it's stopping the inflammation, it's creating a barrier, and it's stopping anything from going through. Now, what happens is that's a form of starvation. You're starving yourself, because if there's a barrier and you can't eat or you can't pull the nutrients in, you're going to starve the body.
Well, this is the thing. So you're still able to eat, so you're still consuming food. But when you say starvation, it's kind of you're starving yourself of nourishment.
100%.
So
Okay.
you're still able to get calories and food. So your body is still able to get calories. But that kind of assimilation of nutrients into the body and into the cells is breaking down. So you're
Correct.
not necessarily nourished.
So then what will happen is, and thank you for adding that on, because that's the bit that I probably need to add on to it. So what will happen is zonulin, which is what pulls those nutrients in, will start to increase, and that begins to push the intestinal lining apart. So that puts the tight junctions further apart. And then what happens is, because it's pushing tight junctions apart to try and get that food in, your immune system sees it and it goes, whoa, what the heck are you doing? And it will release more antibodies against what you're eating then, what you didn't react to before, against it, because it's like, oh my God, I need to protect you even more. That triggers more inflammation, which spreads the intestinal junctions tight apart. And then what will happen is that histamine creates even more inflammation. So you've got this continued cycle of zonulin trying to get the nutrients in, but the histamine creating a blockade. Now, when we use the term leaky gut, people assume that your gut's like completely open. That's not true, because if your gut was completely open, you'd be bleeding to death. You have blood vessels that surround it. You'd literally be
all of the toxins in your gut would just flood
through,
your bloodstream, and you'd be
dead. You'd be like, you'd be ill, right?
But I like the fact that you said there, because it's kind of, it shows the point of like there's stages. It's not just like leaky gut or no leaky gut. Like this is something that's like there's stages to this. Like you can have a little bit of leakiness, or you can have like a ton of leakiness. And essentially, like, your body's reacting in a very smart way because the cells are signaling to your digestive system, yo, we are starving here.
Yeah.
You haven't delivered us any nutrients for days. What's going on? So the digestive system, as you were saying, is kind of increasing the porosity, increasing the kind of
It's
size.
open tight junctions.
Yeah, it's opening. I'm just trying to think of like a good way of saying that, but maybe that's really clear. So it's opening those tight junctions to be like, oh, sorry guys, we haven't been delivering nutrients. Let's deliver more nutrients. But by opening the tight junctions, molecules that previously were too big to cross that barrier are now slipping through. So things like, you know, the toxins and the waste that are supposed to continue traveling down your intestine and into your colon and be removed by your body are all of a sudden able to get out into your bloodstream, which is not supposed to happen because your body's trying to give more nutrients. And that then is triggering more inflammation and more histamine. So your body's like, oh, I'm even more starved for nutrients. So the tight junctions are stretching again. And it's like this cycle that is happening over and over. And that's essentially what a leaky gut is.
Exactly. And so the issue becomes is like, what will happen is like people...
Sorry, actually. And just to add, and then that's why you're getting these food intolerance tests where it's saying like, you're basically intolerant to everything and you're reacting to like dairy and gluten, but also like mango seeds.
Yeah, because you're...
And you're so confused because you're like, oh my God, I have to live on 2 foods.
Cucumber.
No, but that's what's happening because it's luck of the draw.
Yeah. So,
you know?
And the thing is, like, it's not indicative, like you said, it's not, food intolerance is not indicative of true intolerance. So the problem becomes is, what will happen is then people then become sensitive to supplements and they're like, or they're like, want to have a probiotic that apparently fixes the gut, or they're going to look glucosamine sulfate or something.
Yeah.
But the problem is, what they're trying to do is, if your bucket is full, so we'll go back to the bucket analogy, right? And you're shoveling in like supplements and vitamins and minerals. What you got to remember, a food supplement is designed to correct a nutritional deficiency. So if you're deficient in something, that's what it corrects, right?
Yeah,
that's what a food supplement is.
It's not a miracle. It's
a medication. So a medicine is there to open up or correct a pathway that is not fit, that needs to be fixed. Like if your blood pressure is not modulating, you need a blood pressure medication to fix why the blood's not flowing properly, right? That's what medication does. So let's split those two apart, part there. Now, if you've got an inflamed gut and your bucket is full of histamine and it's really full of everything, if you're adding supplements into there, I don't give a crap if it's glucosamine sulfate or magnesium or whatever it is, or probiotics. It's just adding to a already filled bucket.
Probiotics are not going to help the situation.
They're not going to help a leaky gut.
But I think it's funny because you know how we were saying like the body is being reactive, but actually it's not technically helpful. So when the cells aren't getting enough nutrients, the body is being reactive by opening the tight junctions to, in theory, allow more nutrients through, which, you know, it makes sense in the response, but it's not actually helpful. It's the same way you're saying we're being told that when we have these food intolerances or we have leaky gut, that we're being reactive. So we're removing all of those foods and we're sustaining ourselves on like boiled chicken and boiled rice. And then we're adding all of these supplements in, which, you know, we're being reactive, but we're not being helpful. It's like, it's the same thing.
It's not fixing anything. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So like, that's the problem.
We're not actually stopping to think about what's happening. We're just being reactive.
That's the problem. So like, you know, you hit the nail on the head there. That's it. Like people, then you'll go to a practitioner, you'll try to remove those food groups to fix yourself, right? Yeah. And what they're working on is the fact that your intestinal lining does go through, like, I think if I'm correct, it goes through apoptosis, so it regenerates itself. And so as it regenerates itself, that is meant to be healing. So what they'll do is they'll limit your diet.
Space.
They'll create space, like they'll change the food groups and they'll get into fasting. However,
which can help sometimes
short term,
it can. It's like the low histamine diet, right? Like it can offer some help, and I think we say that it works because, particularly in cases where there isn't, there's a little bit of leaky gut, but maybe not like extreme chronic cases, it can sometimes be enough to sort you out if you're very disciplined. And so we decide, okay, this is the protocol and this is how it helps. But as I believe you're probably about to say, like, in most cases, particularly where there's a big histamine issue and a big inflammatory and a big immune issue, it's not going to help.
And so like it goes to the point, like with a leaky gut, you can tell you've got it because of all like that testing you can do, but it's normally when you're reactive to foods. It's normally when your immune system is really reactive, like you're becoming reactive to things like you shouldn't react to before. You feel like exhausted because you're not getting enough nutrients or vitamins and minerals into the system. You're like literally feel bloated after eating certain foods. And the problem is
constipation, then diarrhea, then constipation, then diarrhea, or you have one or the other. You've hormonal issues, you have mood issues, like anything that's kind of like needs a functioning gut to function.
I mean, you got to remember all your serotonin, your dopamine, everything, all those good neurotransmitters that you need in your system are produced in your gut. They say like the argument always has been that your gut is your first brain and this is your second brain. And so
it starts in the gut and then it's just transported to the brain.
100%.
But what was I going to say? Also like the detoxification things, like a lot of people that have like, symptoms of high toxicity, and you're like, how do I have this? I'm not, exposed to loads of mold, and I'm not, I'm eating well, I'm like on a clean diet. Oftentimes it's because the gut system is breaking down. It's because there's too much inflammation and leakiness there. And it's not actually that you're exposed to more toxicity in your environment or your foods. It's because there's toxicity getting places that it shouldn't.
100%. And so let's talk about fixing it. No. Because the thing is, T, it's really good information that people need to add to it. But like, so like talking about fixing it. So like, I'm gonna talk about Toxiprevent, and I'm gonna mention it because it's one of our products and it's a passion product for us. So it's like it is a bit of a telling people about it. But when we started working in like the detoxification field and we started looking and understanding it, one of the things that we did was when Froxman started years and years ago. This is actually a true story. Mr. Gurner was telling us, he goes, basically, how we knew that we took away histamine was because they were talking to people who were taking it for heavy metal detoxification and and one of the big areas is animal nutrition. So they actually give chickens, cows and pigs Toxiprevent, but a different form of Toxiprevent.
Because some people might not know, it actually started as a detoxification tool. It wasn't like originally created for histamine. Yeah.
And what they used to do, they give to animals for like reduce the aflatoxins and octotoxins in chickens and in mold. So like any mold that comes to the animals didn't go to the humans as we eat the animals.
Or people who had like infections and stuff as
Correct,
well.
So and what happened was they started getting reports where people were saying like, oh, it's really weird. I used to be reactive to this food and it's disappearing. And so that's when they actually went and did the research on histamine, and they actually realized that, oh my God, we're binding to histamine. But this was in like 2006. And by the way, we had no understanding of histamine. Like literally, by the way, like a lot of people.
Still, there's a lack of
people, like, we're talking like 2006 when they've discovered that, right? And now, even though a lot of research is coming up about food intolerances and whatever, that research has just been like, it's just people don't really understand it. And because I think we're really slow to catch up. So what happened was there was a leaky gut study done. We'll tag in the description of the leaky gut study. And what they showed was that because histamine was creating inflammation in the gut, and because people were still having to eat and like constantly work and do their thing, that they weren't able to heal the gut. And so what they found was that if you took the capsules and you bound to the histamine, but you also took away the heavy metals, took away the molds and mycotoxins, took away the ammonium, took away the they're taking away the other amines, so biogenic amines, like your putrescine, cadaverine, all those different things that our body's exposed to. You reduce the inflammation in the gut, you allowed the gut to heal, and as you start taking it, and you have to take it on a daily basis, over 6 months, over 9 months, over 12 months, because by the way, it doesn't just work instantaneously, it takes time, because you remember, you've had years of crappy things happen to the system, so that takes time.
And there's multiple different systems that are malfunctioning.
100%. As you started to reduce that, the gut started to heal, and people's intolerances or should we say like histamine overload disappeared, their symptoms start to disappear. And then what they were able to do is adjust their diet. So working with a good nutritionist, they were able to adjust their diet, add the right supplements into them, the right vitamins and right minerals, and all of a sudden you've come out that cycle. And so, like, just to kind of reiterate, then just to go back to it, because I know T will probably add to this, but like what a leaky gut is versus what it really is completely different. And my kind of point is it's fixable. It's very easy to do. It can be fixed. It just takes a bit of time. And that's where the problem always lies, is people are just like worried about the perseverance. And the second thing that I always found is people like they say that they're reactive. And what they're reactive to is probably more so to their body not being able to detox properly. So it gets very excited and it wants to remove those toxins quickly. And that's where they think the reaction's coming from. And it's not. So it's such a weird place to be, but it's a game changer.
But I think we just need to come back and really think about when we say food intolerance or sensitivity or we're reactive, we need to really think about, okay, but what is that actually? Because I think when someone says, oh, I just feel like I'm reactive and I'm hypersensitive to everything, I'm like, great. That's a sign that your body is in this state of hypersensitivity. And that's telling me that your immune system is freaking out and it's releasing too much histamine. It's releasing, all of these inflammatory markers. There probably is some, gut breakdown, some leaky gut breakdown. There's probably some waste product that is getting to places in the body that it shouldn't. There's probably some undernourishment, which to your body, starvation is lack of nutrients. It's not about I don't have enough calories for most of us. I think that's great because to me, when someone says that they feel like they're reacting to everything, I'm like, yeah, that's what's going on. We need to get this histamine under control. We need to re-signal to the body that we can calm this inflammation. It's not in a state of crisis and we can start kind of getting things in order again. It's not about, but instead, I feel like we get so fixated on, oh, I have this food intolerance, so I need to remove this food from my diet, or, oh, I need to heal my gut, so I need to take glucosamine, or I need to do this. We're focusing on the wrong thing. Then we're longing out the process, so we're feeling a little bit better, but we're not actually sorting out the problem. And so it's like this constant balance of like up and down, whereas we need to really think about what is a food intolerance? What is this? It's a reactivity. It's a hypersensitivity. We need to reduce that histamine. We need to calm the inflammation, but we need to do it in the right way. And that's essentially, to me, a leaky gut is just telling you, it's just your body telling you that shit's going down. We need to take a step back. We need to reduce the histamine, reduce the inflammation, let the processes work again and get on with our lives. It's not really telling you anything permanent in my mind. It's just telling me shit's going down. We need to take a breath and move on.
Like I said, a lot of the information is it's very weird. We've been doing this far too long to not have said something about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I hope that makes sense and has come across.
No, I think
because I feel like it's something that we're so in.
Yeah.
I don't always know if that comes across in kind of a coherent way. So if anyone's listening to this, please actually do let us know. Ask us questions, call us out if that didn't come across in the way that we meant to, or hopefully it kind of put things into perspective, because just back to what we were saying at the beginning, an allergic response is a completely different immune response, whereas what we're talking about with histamine and leaky gut and IgG, food intolerances, all of that, hypersensitivity, that's almost more an immune breakdown in my mind. It's not an immune reaction. if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It's I'll always say to people, it's like to kind of like put this to kind of end this a little bit
Yeah.
more. It's like, when people say like, oh, like I'm always getting like, colds and flus and always feel like groggy and run down, all this stuff and everything. And what people say, they goes, oh, like, always getting ill. I just can't, just literally can't. And whenever I do, I feel like shit constantly. And they always talk about boosting the immune system. It's not. You don't need to boost the immune system. You need to balance the immune system.
Yeah.
When
Just allow it to
when
work
your body's
properly.
reactive, boosting is the last thing you want to be doing. A reactive immune system is where your immune system is attacking itself.
Yeah.
A high active immune system and a low immune system is also where you can get colds and flus and viruses and stuff like that. So you don't want to be either end of the spectrum. You want that equilibrium balance,
Yeah.
and that is the key to it. The key to I always say to people, the key to unlocking health is equilibrium, is balance. If you can balance it, you will be a superhero.
But your body has knows what to do. We just need to, as you say, bring it back into balance. It's not about being over and you don't want to be under. It's just about bringing, because the environment is working against us. It's just bringing it back into balance and then letting it do what it needs to do.
100%. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and leave some comments. Let us know what you think of it, and if you've got a leaky gut, let us know how you got on when you follow the protocol.
Yeah. And actually let us know if you've, what approach you took. Because I know that there's like the very common functional medicine kind of like, is it 3R or 4R approach? But
5R,
yeah,
6R, 7R, 10R now.
well, I think it's probably developed into it. But yeah, I think I agree with aspects of that, but there's actually a lot that I would take a different approach. So, let us know.